Hi everyone, this is Barbara and I'm here to share. I have, as you know, been sharing everything that I have learned through my career as a speech clinician, working really just about exclusively with people who stutter. At least it's been exclusive for the past 30 years. So I've learned a lot. And my purpose is to share it with you. I want to share it so that both clinicians and people who stutter can learn from the mistakes that I made and all that I've learned from my clients, from really working real time with people who stutter. So this is the fourth in a series of live webinars that I have decided to do. It's the fourth, I think. My friend's telling me it's not the fourth, it's the third, but I think, let's see, the first one was on whether we should accept that stuttering is a lifelong condition or try to find fluency. And my perspective was that both of these need to be revamped. You don't run after fluency. We all know that doesn't work. Oh, you know that so well. And it only causes frustration. And accepting that there's something that is making life at minimum a little bit more difficult for you, and maximum very, very difficult and making life very frustrating, doesn't seem to be the way to go either. So that was what the first topic was about, and my perspective, as you know, is that by finding the way to speak naturally, something that I know that everybody who stutters can do, that there is a way to do something different and not to get yourself frustrated in trying to do something that isn't going to work. Hi Linda, welcome. So the second one was on attention, where we put our attention. Do we put our attention on how to speak, on trying to speak, or do we put our attention on the thoughts that we have and just let our thoughts flow? So that is my perspective, that attention is a big part of the problem. When you put it on how to speak and how to get the words out, you just make your system go in the wrong direction, and that causes frustration and blocks. So the third one was about language. That was last week, when we talked about how language develops automatically. And we saw that we really don't have to know exactly how it happens, but the focus of attention should not be on the language. And there's a whole lot more to say about that. Can't say everything in these lives. I will be doing webinars in the future, near future, so that maybe we can get into it a little bit deeper. So look out for when I'm going to do a webinar. And if you have missed, hi Brian, if you have missed the first webinars in this series, they are on my YouTube channel. So you can catch them there, not miss a thing. All right, so today's topic is the power of your voice. And wow, that is a big topic. You know, a lot of people talk about the voice when it comes to stuttering. And remember in the King's Speech it said, you have a voice, and yes, he has a voice. And that is really what speaking is all about, the voice. But it is so really misunderstood when it comes to stuttering and how it affects speech fluency and how to produce a voice. Because, of course, everybody who's stuttering or speaking fluently is using a voice. That we know. But there are little things about how you use your voice and what role the voice plays in speech that is really, really important. Let's start with one thing, okay? We know that probably, and I'm guessing, but I think I'm pretty close, probably 97% of people who stutter do not stutter when they're singing. And there's a lot of people come up with a lot of different reasons for this, because you know the words. Okay, so what? So people say, but there are hard sounds to say, but all of a sudden when you're singing, there are no hard sounds to say. So what is it about the voice that happens when you're singing that affects fluency in a positive way? Well, anybody has a guess, I invite you to write it down, okay? But what I think and what my experience has shown me is that when you're singing, your brain automatically sends a signal to the voice to activate, because after all, what are we doing when we're singing? We're making a melody. And when the brain has a melody in the head, it automatically sends the signal to the vocal cords to vibrate, to produce that melody. So the melody becomes the essence of your singing, of your speaking. Call it singing, call it speaking. But it becomes the essence that you're still maybe saying speech sounds and words when you're singing, but your major intent is to do the voice. Well, when you're speaking, it's not always the major intent. Of course, you're not going to have a melody when you're speaking, but you do have something that's analogous to a melody, and that is that you have intonation or prosody, the tone of voice. And we can discuss that a little bit maybe later too, but you do have that when you're speaking, but it's not so important in the mind of the speaker as the song is, the melody of the song, the vocals of the song are to a person who's singing. So when we're singing, what we have to learn is that the brain is signaling the vocal cords pretty automatically, because that's what the song is all about, and that's the intent of the singer, is to make the voice. Now, when speaking, that voice should be the basis of speaking as well as singing. But it isn't always, because when your intent is to get words out, it takes all of the speaking up to the mouth area and away from the vocal cords. So it really affects how the vocal cords work. So we can learn from the singing. It doesn't mean that we're going to have a sing-song melody in our speaking, absolutely not. But what we do want to do is we want to make the voice important to our speaking, just like it is to our singing. And this is something that can be learned. Now, the way to make a voice, that's something that there's been many therapies that use the voice in some way. For instance, many, many years ago, I did learn fluency shaping. And I learned that what you're supposed to do with the voice is make gentle onsets. Well, believe me, I had trouble doing that. And oh yeah, I remember trying to get that monitor going. So making gentle onset is a very artificial way of making a voice. Yeah, you're supposed to know when every syllable begins, and you're supposed to start with very gentle vibrations and then make them stronger and then make them weaker and go to the next syllable. That's a lot to think about. Whew. So even when I did do fluency shaping with my clients back 30 years ago, I got off of that pretty quickly and got to just the fact that we need a voice. So you see, there are subtle differences when you're teaching somebody how to produce their voice as the basic element of speaking. I don't think the gentle onsets are the way to go. There's also a thing called continuous voicing, which would make the voice very, very dull and also puts pressure on the vocal cords. So if you're just going to do like, now I'm talking to you and I'm going to talk to you this way, and now I'm just doing continuous voicing, and that's all I'm doing. Well, the speech isn't very clear, and although that's using your voice, it still wouldn't be effective for communication. But the way that I work with clients to do the voice is very naturally, and to do it in a way that you can put in all of the mood and the intonation and the feeling that's in your voice. And that's really, really important. You know, our voice tells so much about us. You can talk to a person on the phone, not see them, just listen to their voice, and you can get so much information from just listening to a voice. You can maybe know the health of a person, you maybe can know the age of a person, whether very often you can tell if it's female or male, where they're from, and sometimes their feelings too. You can sort of tell if a person is hesitant by the tone of their voice, or very exuberant by the tone of their voice. And so the voice is really an important element, and it shouldn't be forgotten. And there are ways that you, if you're a person who stutters, can get yourself to make your voice in a normal, natural way. But you've got to give up all this trying that concerns words. Hi, Michelle. Nice to see you here. Haven't seen you in a long time. And there is a way to use your voice naturally. And the most natural way is the best way. Now, people who stutter have all sorts of different feelings about their voice. First of all, when they're making a normal, natural voice, and they do have a lot of expression in it, I've heard a lot of my clients say, I sound monotonous, which is really very strange to me, because I hear them, oh, they're being so expressive, and this is really, really neat. And their perception is different. And I don't exactly know why it is all the time. I've got a few guesses. One is that so not used to using your voice is the basic element of speaking that the difference seems a little strange. Another could be, and this is something I've heard one theory, I don't know if it's true or not, that there's more sensitivity in the middle ear to vibrations. And you know, when I'm making my voice now, I can, if I paid attention to it, I can feel the vibrations sort of in this area, and yeah, the vibrations are there. So I think this, sometimes people who stutter, who aren't aware of making their voice normally and naturally, are a little sensitive to this. So it takes time, and it takes time to get used to it, but it's really important to use your voice, and because that is the power of your speech. Really, the voice is the power. It's got so much information in it, and it is the essence, the raw material of speaking. So it's really important to use your voice. And there's so much about the voice that's important, but I have to share this with you. Yesterday, we had a first session with a young man, a lovely, bright young man, and he wasn't using his voice at all when he spoke. I mean, he did use it occasionally when he forgot he was speaking, but most of the time, he was really just like, you know, trying to push the words out so that his neck got tight and his head went back, and he was having so much struggle. And then we worked on the voice in a natural way, and he loved it. It was so different for him. And he really was able to say things that he just wouldn't have been able to say otherwise. It was just so much fun to see the relief and to see that this person can see that he has a way, that he can speak in a different way. He doesn't have to have all that struggle. So you might not be struggling that much. And if you're a clinician and you have clients, not all your clients will struggle that much. But what's really important is that raw material for speaking, the voice, is very important to speech. So much more important than the words and the speech sounds and how to say them. And there is a way to work with it, to get the brain to be sending the signal also when you're speaking, not just when you're singing. So I was just wondering, oh, hi, Ruben. Haven't seen you for a long time either. Hope all is well. Think a little bit about your voice. And of course, you want to use your voice to serve you, not to be as a secondary thing to all those words that you're so worried about. This is really important. I would like you to tell me if you think your voice is important in speaking. Whether you're a person who stutters, or a clinician, or maybe just one of my Facebook friends who's tuned in. Tell me how important you feel the voice is to you. Now, there's one more thing that I just want us to talk about before we end this Facebook Live, and that's breathing. If you notice, I haven't scheduled any Facebook Lives about breathing. But breathing is very much tied in with the vocal cords because, as you know, the vocal cords can close the windpipe the windpipe. And when you do that, that's when you hold your breath. The air can't go in or out. Okay, so if you are speaking in a way that you're not using the voice correctly, and it ends up that you close your vocal cords, then you're going to feel like you can't breathe. It's not because you can't breathe. It's because of the way that you are using your vocal cords. So, think about it. Write down how important you think the voice is to speaking. And if you want to start a conversation about it, you can start a conversation here. That'd be great. Okay, so I just want to say that I will be back next week. I'm not sure. Hi, Denise. Hope all is well. Missed you. I will be back next week for another in the series, and that's going to be about the timing of all these things that we've been speaking about. So we'll talk about that as well. If you have any questions about this or about any of my videos, please write them down either here, or you can write them down on my YouTube channel, and I'd be happy to answer anything that would come up. So thanks all of you for joining me, and see you next week. Bye.